First at 6 tonight, whether it is sudden or expected, loss is hard, but for some families, that grief has no closure. They don't know what happened to their mom, dad, sibling, or loved one.
And tonight, WDRB's Darby Bean shows us how the Kentucky State Police is working to bring that closure to families, even if it takes decades.
It's through initiatives like the DNA Doe Project. John and Jane Does, who for years have been unidentified, are now getting names, and their families are getting answers.
Somebody knows who this guy is. Like, he just didn't appear out of nowhere. Somebody knows.
Kentucky State Police looking for answers year after year, decade after decade.
It's important for me that he gets returned to his family. He gets a resting place with people, his loved ones.
But who is he? That's still the biggest question in the case, more than 30 years in the making. Inside the DNA database section of the Kentucky State Police Laboratory in Frankfort is Supervisor Regina Wells.
All of the evidence profiles, all of the missing persons profiles, we do all of the searching and we report those out to law enforcement.
But some answers are harder to find. She says there are more than 70 sets of unidentified remains in Kentucky.
That represents 70 families that don't know where their loved one is.
New technology and resources are now helping agencies like KSP identify those remains. KSP is working with groups like the DNA Doe Project, a nonprofit out of state that uses forensic genealogy, a type of DNA analysis that can't be done at the laboratory, to help law enforcement identify remains of John and Jane Does.
The cases that we're sending them, we have already analyzed them and entered them into CODIS, but unfortunately we've received no hits.
KSP sent its first case to the DNA Doe Project in 2018. Decomposed remains were found off I-65 near Bowling Green in 2001. No identity, no answers for around 20 years. A mystery until this summer, a big break in the case, thanks in large part to the DNA Doe Project.
I think everybody heard me yell whenever we got the report, and it confirmed that it was her.
Her is this woman, now identified as Dawn Claire Plonsky Wilkerson of Nashville, Tennessee.
She counted that she mattered to everybody.
Estranged for years, Penny Simonson had no idea what had happened to her sister. She didn't know about Wilkerson's death or the case until recently.
It was sad. It was very sad. Because we kind of just drifted, and I just thought that's what she wanted, and maybe she didn't. Because we didn't know.
Now with one big answer, KSP investigators are still digging for more, determined to find out how Wilkerson's body ended up on the side of the interstate. Just as detectives are trying to find answers for this victim of violence in Grant County. A man believed to look like this was shot and killed more than 30 years ago.
They did everything they could back in '89 to try to determine who this individual was. And unfortunately, the case went cold.
No name, no identity, and it's become personal for those on the case over the years.
In this case, we couldn't identify him through facial recognition. His hands had been removed, so we couldn't utilize fingerprints.
This image, created in 1989, has since been updated as technology improved to what investigators believe the man looked like. KSP says he was found with 2 shots to the back of the head in a tobacco barn, his clothes ripped off, his hands severed. The case was sent to the DNA Doe Project in early 2020.
It gives me a lot of hope. In '89, no one really thought about identifying somebody through DNA. DNA was relatively new at the time, right?
Other families like Wilkerson's, who now have some answers, hope that others can find that same closure.
This was a wonderful program to go back so many years, just to keep searching.
No closure yet, but some clues in the case. The DNA Doe Project has found the victim likely has roots in Eastern Europe and matched his DNA at a distant cousin level. A glimpse of hope and a solid start to get answers for this man and the nameless remains like his, no matter how much time has passed.
It's important for me to let them know that KSP hasn't given up.
Detectives believe someone out there still knows something about this case. They say if you have the smallest detail from 30 years ago that could be a clue to finding this man's identity or what happened to him, call KSP in Dry Ridge. The numbers are at the bottom of your screen and you can remain anonymous. Darby Bean, WDRB News.